Welcome to The Prize Inside. A chiropractor's journey in everyday holistic health and vitality. Here, your host, Dr. Jeromy Myers, delves into the remarkable journeys of everyday people who have embraced the path to health and healing. Through his practice, Dr. Jeromy encounters inspiring stories of profound transformation and the power of true healing within each of us. Stay tuned as we discuss various holistic topics and unlock the healing potential that lies within us all.
All right. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to 1% Tribe tonight. I had a little slow connector speed there for a minute, but all is good. Tonight's going to be a little interesting. Let me get this little thing off of there. It's going to be kind of so Lynne McTaggart is who we're going to be talking about. So we're talking about the innate intelligence and the 0-point field. This is going to be a little not necessarily woo-woo because quantum mechanics is real, right? But it's going to be a little, hopefully, I will be able to explain it the way I would like to explain it, as we go forward. There is a book I read a long time ago. I basically, like before, the Greg Brains and the Bruce Liptons, I had found her after I had read those two, and I thought it was fantastic. Now, that being said, Greg and Bruce, I think, have expanded beyond, what we're going to talk about tonight, but it's a big key to what innate intelligence is. We say this intelligence and this innate intelligence, and why though? Why would your body have this innate intelligence? Well, it's to adapt and cooperate and communicate with the universal intelligence, right? And the universal intelligence is nature, is the universe. It's everything that surrounds us. And so once we understand that there is an interconnectedness there, it can change it can change a ton of your different perspectives in like health and healing, how all this stuff works, getting a little more joy in your life, those kind of things. So tonight's about that. I hope it doesn't go over. I hope it doesn't go over like a lead balloon. I'm feeling pretty good that we'll all get there and it won't be too like off into the weeds. Okay. So with that said, though, I got up to I got 60 people on my newsletter. It's fantastic. I've been stuck at 59 for like ever. So if you are interested in newsletter or basically like anytime we have a show, I'm able to do a transcript and create a newsletter out of it. And so that's what we've been doing currently. My hope is, and the live video is actually streaming now over there. But it's tribe1.substack.com. Substack is a place where a ton of authors go. It's a free place. There is ones for like memberships and all these kind of things, but Substack, you can do audio, video, articles, all kinds of cool stuff. So, it's something to look at. So tribe1, tribe1.substack.com will be your first one. The Prize Inside a Chiropractor's Journey on Rumble and YouTube for that. So it's called The Prize Inside I had a chiropractor's journey, and you can find it on Rumble and YouTube. So, with that said, let me get rid of that banner. Let's start tonight and kind of explain like where we're going to go with this book because it was profound for me. What is the connection, right? How does the innate intelligence connect to the universal intelligence? No one's really talked about that. And I think this book, Lynne McTaggart, her thought process and going through it back in those days could lead you to understanding how these things actually happen. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. So hopefully you guys enjoy it. And hopefully the internet will let things download. It's been one of those things. Well, while this is doing its thing. Oh, okay. Okay, so it's called Innate Intelligence 0-Point Field. What if space between the lines, okay, so the space between things, the space between, we'll talk about this in a minute, isn't empty at all? What if it's the most important place in the universe? A sea of energy that connects every particle in existence, including you. This is literally going to be a conversation on the literal connection between innate intelligence and universal intelligence. So imagine, have you ever heard I love this statement. I have no idea who quoted it, but it's the space between the music notes that makes music so special. You know, you have the music note, but the ability to manipulate kind of the energy in between when the music note's not playing is kind of where the magic's at, right? And so one of the things that occurs is we were taught that we were in this giant void of ether and we're the only energetic, situation where quantum mechanics and quantum energy have really changed that perspective in a different way. And I think Lynn's 0-Point Field, which we're going to talk about, kind of connects those, bridges that gap. So here we go. Who is Lynne McTaggart? So she was born in New York City in 1951. She was educated at Northwestern and Bennington College. She really started getting into, she cut her teeth in hard news or investigative journalism. She worked for Playboy, the Atlantic Saturday Review, and managing editor of the Chicago Tribune, New York. Before she didn't start as a new age figure. So once she started getting into this work, she was considered a new age, which we'll talk about, because you don't have to be new age to understand what we're gonna be discussing. But she was a normal newsroom journalist. Her first book was called The Baby Brokers. It was a hard expose on the illegal private practices. She went on posing as a pregnant woman, and separately as a parent to get the story. It's that she got deep into the investigation area. Now she gets that book written, and then she goes and lives in London. So she went and after recovering, I'll just read the history here. After recovering from an illness using alternative, her husband, Brian Hubbard, suggested that she start a newsletter, what conventional medicine wasn't disclosing back then, right? This became a book called What Doctors Don't Tell You, which she co-founded and still edits. It's grown to be one of the most widely circulated. It's a publication in the world, published in multiple languages. Went on to write 8 books total, several of them international sellers, which we're going to talk a lot about tonight. The Intention Experiment, The Power 8 was really good book. The Bond and others, all positioned as part of what she calls the new science, or understanding the actual energy science that is out there. So quantum and the power of attention, so if you like these, Wayne Dyer, Bruce Lipton, Greg Braden, I love that. So, so we're trying to hit each and every one of these. She appeared in documentaries in this space. Is What the Bleep Do We Know? So these are all different documentaries you can find. Conference speaker. She's been ranked among top spiritual leaders list. On this physics specifically, the field is many reasons for making dense quantum theory approachable, and that's what we're going to hopefully do tonight. But working physicists have pushed back hard on some of her extrapolations, which also they have a right, absolutely, to say, okay, this is a pushback on this, but imagine if it's true. We don't know. There's a lot of things that we can't measure necessarily. Into the claims of consciousness and healing. And that's where she gets her, what they call science. But as you've noticed in the last probably 10 years, some of these conspiracies just keep seeming to wake up and occur. Isn't it amazing that they call stuck though? It's kind of real. Okay. So she's a real journaler who did real interviews with real physicists. That's what's really crazy about the books that she does. But where the physics stops and speculation starts is exactly where we need to slow down and look at everything, right? So we're not going to take this as set in stone, but it makes sense. And that's why I love this book, because this 0 point field starts to understand and explain, epigenetics. Right? So, we talk about Bruce Lipton's ability. We can literally change our structure of our genes. And the way that happens is through our consciousness, right? Our thoughts, our consciousness, our environment. Environment is this thing that creates literal turning on and off gene structure. We know that's true now. That's absolutely the way it goes. There's a science completely to it with epigenetics, that you can literally turn on and off your genes. Now, in the medical, they'll be like, what chemical can I do to turn on and off this gene, right? But we know there's a more powerful factor, is consciousness, our connectedness, our ability to think. Our minds will be the key. Okay. All right. So, gosh, hopefully. Okay. So let's talk about this as best we can. So we're going to go to Lynne's book, and then we're going into the field. Okay. So what is the 0 point field? All right. So this is the definition. It's even in a total vacuum, subatomic particles never really stop vibrating. This residual, uneliminable energy is the 0 point energy. And the field of it permeating all space is called the 0 point field. So essentially, think of your two hands as separate, but there's actual energy in between those two hands. Like you're going to go, there's some kind of energy this when you do that. Now, there's some cool things like if I get my hands moving really fast and not touch them, I can feel the heat off of both, right? You can feel different not touching. So think of this energy that's kind of flowing. And so at the deeper level, we're just not little chemical, little solar systems. We're connected. And that connection is in the space between those two, which is the energy of that. So, in a, you have the moon and all the planets, I'm sorry, the sun and all the planets, and they circle. that circles doesn't exist, right? But it shows you kind of whatever the orbit is, right? In that type of picture, that orbit is all connected, right? And so points interesting. Absolute zero, which is the total minimum energy, right? So absolute zero is the coldest it can get, right? Supposedly nothing's happening, but the particles never really stop moving, which is kind of crazy. There's a residual ineliminable jitter. Physicists have called it, even at 0 point or absolute zero, the Zitterbigwig, or German. I don't know how to say that name, but it's German for a trembling motion. That baseline hum of energy is 0 point energy. Okay. And the field of it filling all of the space is 0 point field. So because physicists have literally found this energy that's between them, and we actually name it, we have to give it credence to when we're talking about health and healing, correct? You would think, right? That's the kind of thing is all a vacuum is actually a rolling active sea of energy. And then it's just below our threshold of ordinary perception. So what is the 0 point field? Again, it was predicted physicist and Boulder, especially decades later, if you place two uncharged metals plates extremely close together in a vacuum, they get pulled toward in a vacuum. Why? Because the plates restrict the wavelengths of the point field. The plates restrict which wavelengths of the 0 point field can exist in the gap between them, while the full spectrum of the field fluctuations continue pressing in from some that imbalance in pressure pushes the plates together. This part of Lynne's work is definitely all accepted physics. This is actually happening. 0 point field. They pretty much assume they've proven it over and over. The part that Lynne gets into that is kind of the stretch that I would say, but I want to tell you about the stretch because no one's acting down that hole because it's not physics, right? So we always keep everything incrementalized, correct? So physics isn't going to take the human body's energy to do. Not true all the time, obviously, but think about this one. We've proven that at 0 point energy literally still have energy going, okay? And inside there, they can still, two pieces of metal interact still, even like a magnet. Think about that. So a positive and minus side of a magnet, there's still an interaction. So as we go forward, yes, the physics hasn't proven it and blah, blah, blah. Keep your mind open. It'd be interesting. Okay. All right. So now this book. Okay. So this is after him pretty good. He's got some cray kind of situation, but I don't care that. I never have. Especially if you're giving me a concept that makes a little sense. So Hal Puthoff is this guy's name. He was a laser physicist who became one of the key voices that McTaggart built around. Oh, by the way, my tea, I hope you guys are drinking tea tonight. It's artichoke. Not my favorite. Definitely not. But it's nice. It's earthy. It's okay. So his central and more provocative claim is matter itself may depend on the 0 point field to exist as we know it. In classical physics, an orbiting electron should continuously radiate energy and spiral into the nucleus. atoms should collapse, but they don't because we have a 0-point field, right? How do we keep what is the energy that keeps the atom spinning? What is the energy that keeps the earth spinning around the sun? Okay. This is kind of where you're going. So Puthoff proposed that electrons are in constant dynamic exchange with this 0-point field, losing energy to radiation, but continuously refueling from the field's fluctuation, keeping the atom stable. He also he extended this further in the hypothesis about gravity itself, proposing gravity might not be, might be a long of the Casimir effect, which is what we talked about. Is one of the scientists that did this in 1948, where objects that block or shield some of the field's fluctuations experience something like being pushed together from all the surrounding unshielded field pressure. This is generally, okay, so we're good there. All right, so let's keep going. I'll bring it back. I'll bring it together. Hopefully, this is what I was nervous about. It was like Jeremy's understanding and awe of this concept doesn't make me a physicist, right? So that's one of the things. But the big thing is, imagine, just in your head, think of the planets going around, right? What keeps them in their orbit other than what we've been told? Gravitational forces, those kind of. But according to this Hal Puthoff, a laser physicist at the time, what was the actual, was there actual energy in between that kept this exchange? And it was basically the think is happening there. That makes a lot of sense. A good way to think about this in your human body that I love years ago. When we know that there's energy in a room, right? Consciousness and any of those things. And we talk about that in the 1% tribe all the time, right? We want our consciousness, our thoughts, our energies with those. Think about, what is it? So let's say I'm a Republican but I'm going to a conversation, or I'm doing a talk, and I walk in and it's all Democrats. Okay. So now here's the difference. Let's say that wouldn't be the problem. That would maybe not be a big issue typically. But what if the room of Democrats knew that I was a Republican, let's say, but the Republican speaker did not know that he was walking into a Democratic, era group? Would you think that he would feel the energy of that? Yes, he would absolutely feel the energy. How about the teacher that just gave the hardest test on the planet Earth to about 30, students, and all of a sudden the grades were awful and he knew it, right? Do you think he feels energy there? Yeah. So that's where the 0-point field could make a lot of sense. It could make a lot of sense in how we interact with all the things, right? Some of us are better. Think about that with you're feeling, where you get injured, all the things. Like, how does it just know that? Isn't that wild to you guys? Like, I've always, in innate intelligence, I've always known it's smarter than us. So, that's how it goes, right? Your human body has this innate intelligence. You have all these cells in your body. It's telling you what to do, how to do it. You have this beautiful, essentially AI that's running every single of your body, right? And so it's overwhelming to think of all the actual mechanisms that this thing does, right? Beating your heart exactly how it should be, growing how much hair you get to have to in the last meal that we just had, which, by the way, tonight was meatloaf I hope if she ever gets on, oh my God, she gave me a recipe for meatloaf. We're going to try smoked meatloaf into smoking eat it tonight just to see how she like it smoked. But I digress. So about that. So you have this innate intelligence. The cells of our body are perfect. They know where to go. They know how to keep you survivable. All the things. It knows when you go out when it's like today was 83 and huggy, you're going to sweat. How does it know to sweat? Right? Kind of thing. That's now. How does it interact? Like there's got to be a communication between you and the universal forces of the earth. There has to be. There has to be some kind of thing, right? Some energy that's flowing at a constant communication. This Lynne McTaggart was getting at, and trying to find the spot. Like, how are we interacting all the time? Right? It's pretty cool. So hopefully this is making sense. So who is Hal Puthoff? He was this laser physicist. We'll give it a little bit of background. In 1973, there was this first major oil crisis. A wealthy guy named Bill Church, he was a wealthy businessman and Puthoff's patron scientific partner. He was caught in a there was a major fuel rationing problem that was occurring back in 1973. Gas stations were restricting purchases, all these things. And so the story goes is like you can't really reliably fill up his car. And so him and this Hal Puthoff were frustrated and like, what if there's another way, right? Then the laser physicist Hal was talking about this 0-point energy to keep every cell, atom, and everything into what he believed it was in coordinate and alive in this time. There must that we aren't right in between like an atom and the nucleus of the atom, right? And so once that occurred, it was like, okay, there's got to be something within that empty space that has some energy in it. And they started doing these calculations, being physicists, that said probably one atom's worth of energy, if you could ever figure out how to harness it, could, let's say, power the earth, right? And so one of the biggest things is like, how do we get there? And this is what the conversation started with. What if we could harness this 0-point field? Lynne McTaggart, though, goes into, that's a cool idea and a cool concept in theory. And hopefully one day we'll be able to figure out how to do that. There's some theories out there if you ever get interested, 0-point energy fields, quite a few different ones, there's a lot of theory and a lot of physics back there that could actually have it happen. But the 0-point field, Lynn says, wait a minute, if we're all energetic, then, the butterfly in the woods in Zimbabwe, once it flaps, it does create an effect somewhere else on the earth. And if the way you could really think about this is the 0-point field is present and it's physics, right? So they figured this out in quantum physics. Okay. So let's talk about 0-point health and healing. Okay. Because the 0-point field is in theory present everywhere and connects every particle. McTaggart's larger argument is that it may function as a kind of underlying medium linking all matter, which is kind of my point, between the things, but potentially carrying information. Accepted quantum physics, which is the creating atomic stability, we go into consciousness, healing, and intentions. So taking it out of the physics realm and then going into consciousness, healing, and intentions, because we're all linked by an underlying matter. It's a medium, right? Of ether. Okay. So there's a lot of things on which I don't know theories. You've done enough deep dive into ether, you'll see where this is going. So there's energetic waves and levels and everything else. So picture the surface, the waves look separate and distinct, but it's a connected body of water, correct? The separateness is just where you choose to look, right? The 0 point field proposes something similar underneath all the matter. We're all connected. It's just the perspective, right? Distinct looking particles and objects all suspended and it continuous with the same underlying field. Okay. This tonight. Why am I so oh, come on. Sorry, guys. Let me check that again. All right, here we go. So the biggest thing is like, why bring this up tonight? Because we want to get into understanding our consciousness and our intentions are things that if we begin to really start harnessing well, we can start living a healthy, happy, different environment versus what we really do. What are we told in society? We need to be good, right? We get told what to do by people that don't have an intention around us. We have why do we feel so good at a football game when everybody's in the positive? Because that energy, that 0 point energy is so big, right? And all those kind of things. Why is it so fun to watch movies with your family? Right? There's an energy. Watch a movie itself, but for some reason, when somebody's enjoying what you're watching and are able to interact, is that right? Playing a board game, doing all these different things. This is what is hard to explain, but feels understand that innate intelligence being connected to this social intelligence, right? So it's not set in stone, but makes a lot of sense. And quantum physics is literally proving it. It's pretty awesome. Okay. So particles that interact can remain linked regardless of distance, and they change instantaneously. Okay, so let's talk about this. So what this really shows is that the quantum idea, the quantum and physics that is occurring, interaction. So I can give you several ideas of this. Think of two twins born at the same time, have the same cravings, both in Japan and one lives in the United States, right? Or they have the same thought process, right? There's people that are called viewers. There's all these different cool things. Sometimes people, they have different psychic, abilities, all those things. I never any of that because, we just don't know enough. A lot of people will be like, oh, we don't know. Bad place to be. It's just so, like that becomes unscientific. Like if we're not going to keep looking, have those kind of issues, then what is science then? Science is the idea, the art of questioning all things and trying to prove within all those things. Quantum physics takes it to this another level. They're connected, okay? And it's been proven in many, many different things. Go back to when we were talking about Dr. Bruce Lipton's stuff, where we had that prayer group. So that went to an area of near St. Louis, Missouri, where they had a very high crime rate. They went and they prayed for a week and it reduced. That's what I'm talking about tonight with the 0 point field. Actual understanding and connected, other than just saying we are this conscious creators, we are our connection to the universal. We have the science to actually prove that. And I think that's pretty awesome. But it is one of those. Okay. So quantum entanglement. whatever you intend, and quantum entangled with too, right? So if we can get our bodies and our intention into that right framework, all of a sudden things happen. One of my listeners, I don't know if he's listening tonight, but he's been pretty quantumly entangled for a little while. His journey is wild in the stuff that has happened to him. So if he's out there, reach into the chat. So this boy has had some interesting life adventures that like just so entangled quantumly. It's like crazy. But so if this is true, so if entanglement happens at a subatomic level and everything is ultimately subatomic, separateness may be an illusion, and we have a actual deep connected reality. Okay, so we're all connected, which all of us kind of on the 1% tribe would understand that. This is a scientific mirror of the idea that the body, maybe all bodies, aren't isolated machines, but expressions of one connective system. It's starting to make sense on God and everything else, right? Jesus kind of told us all that. The power of intention. Focused, is that right? Yeah. Okay, sorry. The power of intention. So this is another book that Lynne McTaggart did. We're going to go through and kind of bring it together. So focused human intention and thought may be able to influence the field. So this is showing you, okay, I have this 0-point field that surrounds me all the time. What if my intention is good? What is to do this thing? You can influence your own field. You can influence it both ways. Positive. This guy, there's so many different ones. There's different studies that were done on human biology, plant growth, and all these ones. So that's why it's very important that we understand pretty good at meditation and mindfulness. It is tuning, and that could be really nice when you're starting to feel that negative. I was like, I got to retune my like perfect. Okay. So that would be amazing. So I improve also. Now this one, it's the internet, everything for like 50 years. Now all of a sudden they're like, oh, it's fringe science. And sure, it Japanese doctor, and this has been out there for a long, long time. Dr. We're not sure much about him other than the concept has been repeated, actually. So even if it wasn't Dr. Emoto, he took water. He was very big in the communication patterns water that you can write on the, and he would test the cell molecules of water with a microscope after he put different wording on, right? So happy, sad, glad, those kind of things. He would have that on there. Let me find that for you guys, actually. But anyway, so because he would do that, you would literally see the cellular structure change. I'm sorry, guys. My internet is like weird. I don't know why it's doing that because it's flowing good, but I don't know. Okay. It's just very slow on some things. Okay. So anyway, so Dr. Emoto would put on the outside of a water bottle and put I hate you, and then on the other one they would put I love you, all those things. And while he was doing that, the crystalline structures within water were much, much better, like into the I love you and those kind of things. It was almost this perfect patterned crystallization. And in the hate ones, it was all bumbled and like broken, right? So I thought that was fantastic. Like just an awesome, regardless of who the doctor is, that, like that maybe there's some scientific community. However, that makes sense. That love their plants, you can see what they do. The plants just grow to another level. Okay. So this is called The Healing Field, which is the last book that we'll talk about with Lynne. But part of part 3 of this book covers the healing implications directly. The 0-point field model reframes the body, not as a closed biochemical energetic system, exchanging information with the field constantly. Natural connection points to your own innate intelligence as the expression of this same principle. Appearance fixing a machine. This is chiropractic in a nutshell. We know when we do something here, it responds to something else. That energy flows from a nervous system standpoint all the way through every. It's time and time again. Your field, though, and in the different level, that's one you're doing. Therapy intention, intentional work, have healing through music. You can have all of these different things, and go the point field helps you understand the connection between outside of the connect on the innate intelligence. All right. So, I think I got one more. Okay, so tonight, what I want to do. Oh, where'd it go? What is happening? Okay, there it is. Okay. Using this 0-point field, hopefully you guys understood, and I've got it across, that this is kind of in quantum energy. Okay. We have this 0-point energy field that is a very big potential. It's been measured through this called the Casimir effect. There has been proof that it's there, that there is so much you can do with intentionally care of energy, body, and your once we get like what you can do in the years to come. Okay, so let's take ones that I practice, clarify, and calm is what the book claims that would be the best effect. Okay, clarity and calm focus, not for what the book claims produces the best effects. Build a regular stillness meditation practice, a way of listening to the field, right? Use this meditation as listening to the field, listening for that interconnectedness. One of my patients, he's in a nursing home now. He's been, but at 92, he's pretty good. I remember him talking about how you can hear the ears of corn grow, and you'd have to be in an ultra silent time to hear that. When I think that's pretty cool. Like, I've never heard it. Well, I don't know if I'd actually heard it, but I really believe, and I've heard that many times, that actually happens. Engaged in shared intention with others. Create a group, get into a group prayer, group meditation, or community goal setting. A lot of times when you look at the 0-point field, what makes it more powerful? More intentional people, right? So what could hurt it? More unintentional people, right? And that is one of the biggest things, is you can have this intentional framework, get with those same people and grow to that different area. Reframe healing as connection, not correction. Okay. So once we've connected to our innate intelligence's language, we start to understand this. I see this one every single day. When people start to become innate intelligence, they know how they don't wait. I say it all the time in the office. I was like, I love the moment when somebody's like, man, I'm feeling really good. I go, this is the perfect time to understand what chiropractic really is. And they go, what do you mean? I said, when you're feeling amazing, you're not feeling amazing. That's the part you need to how about those. So I'll tell somebody once this self-aware, not good feeling come back to get a realignment. And sometimes it'll actually pattern out for you, right? And so what happens is that self-aware is the feeling of that innate intelligence doing what it needs to. Just like a lot of things out there, we lose our self-awareness over time because others try to take it from us over time through medicines, through TV ads, through all the things, no pain, no gain, blah, 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 right? And once we understand how to move in that world, life starts getting a lot better. Okay. Stay curious, stay skeptical all the time, right? Hold the ideas as ends of possibility rather than proven fact. That's a big thing right now. Don't get hung up on that. That's kind of ridiculous. As little as science has proven to show, we're still discovering things today. So how would you just be like, well, I know all the answers. Okay. So here's the biggest thing. Separate maybe the actual illusion. Connection is what our real reality is all about. Just remember this: coherent intention, regular meditation with stillness practice. Share it with others and reframe the healing as connection, not correction. That was beautiful. I love those ones, but hopefully you guys got something out of this. I appreciate you. I won't much, but don't forget this week, Wednesday night, it's going to be pretty exciting. Again, the guy named Rick Westfall coming on for an interview for Whole Health Weekly. That's Wednesday night at 8:30. And then of course the next Sunday we'll have another one of these guys. I can't remember. I think we're doing herbs next week. So I'm pretty pumped about that. Figure out if you have an idea for an herbal remedy, something like that, let me know that you want me to talk about. So that's always fun to do anyway. So with that said, you guys have a great night. Thanks for hanging with me on this. Hopefully it made some sense. But 0 point fear could be the connection between the innate intelligence of this world and universal intelligence. Now we just got to get